Welcome to the Veterans Show. I'm one of the hosts, Levi Miller.
And I'm the other host, Tom Lucan. Tonight, or this week, we'd like to welcome Don Pearsall. Excuse me. He is the author of the book Back from the Front. It's a book in reference of PTSD. So I hope everybody listens and learns and buy Don's book. Don, I'd like to welcome you to the show, and I appreciate we appreciate you coming on.
Oh yes.
Well, thank you, Tom. It's a pleasure to be here. I do a lot. I heard a lot about the show, and it seems like it's a real worthwhile project for veterans. I know I try to support younger veterans as much as I can. I mean, I'm a veteran myself. I put years in the Army, and then 2 tours in Vietnam. And I was a helicopter door gunner on the UH-1 for the 155th Assault Helicopter Company up in the Central Highlands. And I got shot down twice from
Wow.
the Tet Offensive in February of 68 and then November of 68. So when I became 100% with the PTSD for the VA, I came up with a lot of self-help things. And as I explained them to people in the VA, not only in the United States, but other veterans administrations like Australia and Japan, they wanted to know more about my self-help tips. And so that's what prompted me to write the book.
Well, that's cool. How long were you in, you were talking about yourself a little bit in Vietnam. How long were you in the Army yourself?
I was in Vietnam for 2 tours. And
okay. I mean, you did a Say again. I'm sorry.
I was in Vietnam for 2 tours.
Okay. How long were you in the Army total then? Like 4 years?
6 years.
6 years. What was your MLS then? You said you got shot down flying.
Yeah, we got shot down twice. Once on February 18th, 1968. We had just completed a insertion of some Army troops, South Vietnamese soldiers, into the jungle, and as we took off, we caught some heavy ground fire. And the bird was hit about 88 times. And
Wow.
couldn't fly anymore.
Were you a pilot or crew chief?
I was a door gunner, crew chief door gunner.
Crew chief door gunner. Okay. So.
Yeah.
And
then
yeah.
we put about 13 miles on between us and the enemy encampment from where they hit us. We didn't expect them there.
Okay.
There was a big waterfall, and we flew up the waterfall, and they never heard the rotor wash because of the roar of the waterfall. But when we got to the waterfall, they spotted us, and we spotted them about the same time. But they started hitting us before we got a chance really to start taking them out,
Right.
But,
Yeah.
and that was up in Queen Yan, just south of the village Queen Yan in the Central Highlands. But, then, we had to stay in the jungle overnight. We were rescued the next morning by dust off. And we were taken to a mountain yard village, and from there backed out to came into the 158 surgical hospital.
Okay.
And we were beat up pretty bad, wounded and stuff. So it wasn't a fun thing.
Well, Don, what was going through your?
No.
Don,
See, me personally, I'm just a little too young for Vietnam. Levi's kind of an eyeball when it comes to that. He did a year in Korea with 1 month TDY in Vietnam. Mm-hmm.
What a vacation! What a TDY, right, Don? But yeah, I was with the 25th for about a month.
25th.
What happened? What happened back in then? I was in Korea on the DMZ.
Oh yeah.
They took a few of us, well, some from each platoon and stuff, and they sent us to Nam. Because at the time, around 69, everything was getting pretty slack. And I heard in AIT, they had cut AIT down to 8 weeks instead of 9 weeks.
Wow.
So they were running kind of short of personnel, around during that time.
Yeah.
I remember Levi was a grunt now.
Oh yeah, level Bravo. Level. Well, I was a ground pilot, right? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm quite.
See, I was a scout, so there's a difference. But
oh yeah, big difference.
Yeah, I was a scout. Well, it used to be 11 Delta when you guys were in, but not too long before I went in, it went from 11 to 19. Tankers and scouts were 11 series, and they converted over to 19 series in '79. And so it was 11 Echoes, 11 Deltas became 19 series, 19 Deltas and Echoes then. So, of course, now tankers are, the Echoes are for the M48 and the M60 tanks, which are long gone. And since the 90, pretty much, and unless you're in the Marines. But, they went to 19 kilos. But, so I just wanted to give everybody a little bit of a background in your military so that they know you're familiar with what you're like, your experience, I'm sorry. And so that was that's a big part. And that's why I want people to know that, you're author of the book and you ain't somebody who just went to psychology and got your master's or PhD in it, but you're based on your practical experiences, with PTSD, what a lot of us deal with it. My son deals with it harshly. He's 27, 100% PTSD, by the way. So
he's what, Tom?
He says son 100% PTSD.
Oh yeah. So my The thing is, my next book, I got one on the drawing board now that I'm working on now. My next book is for caregivers of PTSD military. Wives, mothers, families, sisters, and whatever.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of self-help tips for them.
Right. Well, Don, tell me something about that because I got my wife is my caregiver, and I also have PTSD too.
Right. And it's hard for the caregivers. So what I did is I went after I got out of school, I went and I wrote this first book here on PTSD. It's a military edition. I decided, I said, there's a lot of things that caregivers also have what they call inherited or secondary PTSD. In other words, they have PTSD from what you are.
Okay.
Because of the way life just is. I mean, they're living with you. They're bound to get things like that. So I decided, I said, well, I know there's a lot of self-help tips, so I started interviewing caregivers for PTSD sufferers, and I found that a lot of times they have self-help tips that really work. So I said, well, I think that would be a well worthwhile venture to write a book just about that. So that's the one that I'm in the middle of doing now. I think that will be just as popular as this other one, the back from the front, mainly because of the fact that it's no holds barred. I mean, I tell you like it is in this book. And I've had psychologists read it, and they said, wow, you're right to the point with it. And I've got great reviews on my website. Connections to anewlife.com is my website. That's the name of my agency. And on the Connections to the New Life website, there's reviews there from people who've read the book from all over the world. And a lot of people are getting something out of it. And that makes me happy because it took me almost 2 years to write this thing.
Now, when did you publish the book, Don? When did you publish the book? Yeah.
It came out, it came out December 26th, the day after Christmas last year.
Okay.
And the Veterans of Foreign Wars in the state of Florida is helping me promote it. And what I do is I take some of the money of the proceeds we donate back to the grassroots veterans organizations. In other words, we don't go to the big ones that have these tremendous overheads and administration costs because we can't see doing that. So what we do is we take part of our proceeds from the royalties and we distribute them among the local American Legion post in somewhere maybe in Nebraska or in Pennsylvania, Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, VFW. And these VFWs and these veterans organizations by us giving the money right back to the grassroots, we're finding that we're getting more accomplished than going to these big outfits. I mean, I'm not going to say any of the big outfits, but, I mean, a lot of them they're good organizations, don't get me wrong, but they have such high overhead costs that a lot of the money doesn't trickle down to where we want it to go. We want to do it for our veterans on a grassroots level. We want to do it for the individual VFW posts, the individual AMVETs or American Legion posts. And it doesn't matter what state it's in. Because we distribute the book state nationally and internationally. So we're keeping the money in the United States, but we're doing it with grassroots veterans organizations, which is what we wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, trust me, you can distribute to the veterans organizations, but there's posts overseas. And I know I was a commander of the VFW post 9985 in Korea in 1999-2000. So, of course, I've done 2 commanderships in 2 different locations of the world.
That band is having you, like somebody like you can understand how all this works,
Yeah. Well, I understand totally.
Yeah, I've been a post commander myself. I'm a district commander now. And so...
Oh, are you?
And I have to work with VFW on the promotion of this book. In other words, going into the VFW store. It's going into the magazine. I'm going to the National Convention in July down in New Orleans. I'm going to have a display set up there. I'm going to talk to the people from National and see if I can get more coverage. And most of the proceeds up to this point are going back into the VFW, but that does not mean that we're not going to take care of everybody else too.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand that. So, I avoided district commander, by the way.
Beg pardon?
I said I avoided the district commandership. I made it to senior vice at district level, and I said no. I stayed on for a couple of years as post commander, and while I was post commander, I was senior vice. My first year as commander, and they wanted me to run for district commander. I said no, my post has priority on me, and so I refused to run as post commander or district commander. Then I stepped down. I said I can't do both. So I said my post has my loyalties first, and so
yeah.
But yeah, sadly, I stepped back from the VFW, not personally, but a year ago, 13 months ago, me and my wife moved, and, we've had a lot of changes in our life this past year, so, and I started back to work part-time to supplement my disability. Plus, I got my youngest is in college, going to school from home now. He's in his senior year.
Right.
And so there's just a lot of things. So I had to back out of the VFW, between work and multiple surgeries and everything else.
Yeah.
I had to take a break from it. Sadly, I hated to, but I'm a realist too.
Hey,
so plus I have a new grandbaby coming to play. What's that?
Yeah, got to come first,
Oh yeah.
You gotta just,
well, we had a new grandbaby coming and all that too, so she takes up some of my time.
Oh yeah. I can imagine so, yeah. But even on Facebook group, the Facebook group, the military PTSD awareness group, I've been in touch with Facebook, and we reach approximately 126 million people worldwide through our groups.
Yeah,
that we're members of.
That's great.
Friends of the friends of the friends. When we post something on Facebook, it goes out to a lot of places, and that's why we advertise our book there. We're not so much interested in selling the book as we are getting the word out of the PTSD people that have this. That hey, don't give up, man. Don't feel life in a bubble because of this. And even the clients I have now, and I try to explain to them. I said that a hurricane derives its power from a calm center. We give a veteran the calm center he needs. We put things in perspective. And with the book as a supplement to help us do this, it works real well. Our programs are very good. Like I said, we had VA, well, we call them the VAs, but the Veterans Administration from different countries ask about our methods, our self-help, how we do it. And I have no problem sharing with that. I mean, after all, I'm helping my brothers and sisters, you know? So I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
And we wrote the book because we felt it's easier to give a veteran like yourself or anybody else that reinforcement. You know, you tell them
Well,
the bad thing. Go ahead.
I was going to say, sometimes, too, some of these veterans, some of our fellow veterans have a hard time facing the fact or getting help dealing with PTSD, and which hopefully the book will be the self-righteous way to bring them along. And, you know, getting help is a big part, you know, and that's what being involved with many of veterans.
Right. And that's exactly what's happening. The book is, in the book, I don't know if you've seen the advertisements for it, but I have 68 chapters in the book, and it covers everything and anything you want to know about PTSD, how to help yourself, how to help others. There's just so many things. We discuss triggers and grounding techniques. And, oh, my God, it's just phenomenal, all the stuff we did. But like I said, it took 2 years for me to do the research on this. And I talked to some of the top people in the country about this, too. The psychologists, like from Menlo Park PTSD clinic out on the West Coast. I talked to the psychologists, but then after I talked to them, I put it in layman's terms.
Okay.
And that's what made the book kind of successful, because we tell people now, this is the way it is. And not using all the scientific stuff, the people really don't have a hard time. They don't have a way of understanding a lot of this stuff. They have a hard time with it.
Right, that's true.
So by talking to the psychologist and doing all my research and then putting it in words that we use every day and ways to help yourself, you know, it worked out good. I'm quite pleased with the way it turned out. You know, it's in fact, when I went to have it published, the publisher wanted to publish it for free and take the royalties. And I said no good, because I already had made up my mind I would rather pay the publisher to publish it so I can give money back to the veterans. Because had they done that, I wouldn't have been able to give any money back. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make this book our book. I think it's my book. So. And I've been doing it for a number of years.
Yeah, well, then the publisher be, you know, and the publisher probably saw the book to be willing to publish it for free, because they have foresight to see the book was going to do quite well. Yeah.
And I'd rather pay the money to have it published out of my agency's, you know, out of Connections to New Life. We have a budget for publications and stuff like that.
Okay.
And we're mostly about veterans. I mean, we do other areas of expertise too, in therapy and life coaching and things like this, but PTSD is what we excel in, it's what we're good at, and we've seen so many cases where they've been successful, where we've helped people. You're never going to cure it. And a lot of people say, oh, you cure it. No. That don't work. And as soon as you realize that you can't cure this, you know, the better off you're going to be. But we have self-help methods that are so simple. When you have a trigger, like one of my triggers was the smelling of Vietnamese food. If I could just be in a Vietnamese restaurant, I can relate right back to that food, and that would cause a flashback at times. Not anymore, because I've used certain self-help and grounding techniques, and got me hundreds of them. You know,
talking about PTSD, I know a while back, talked to my own psychiatrist, Don, a few months ago. We got talking, and in general, and I told her, I said, you know, and I guess she's talking, how come I didn't get help before? I said, you know, my day when we get out of the Army, I got out in 91 after 10 years, after Desert Storm, and I did 4 years and 2 tours in Korea before that. But, you know, as I was telling the psychiatrist, I said, my day when we get out, there was no PTSD. I said, unless you totally flip out, you learn to deal with it. Whether you want it or not, you learn to deal with it to live on. We didn't have no help. There was no help.
No, we did not.
Yeah.
And so you had to learn to keep your senses to.
I noticed a lot of the times too, I'm working now, young people coming back from Afghanistan, Iraq, and I think a lot of times, and why they're always saying about 22 suicides a day and things like this. And what I do is when I talk to these people, I'm finding out that a lot of our soldiers going overseas now are not very well trained to become civilians again. They're trained as far as military operators. But they've never had to deal with this. I mean, all through, like when I went to high school back in the 60s, if a friend of ours got killed in a car wreck, we didn't have grief counselors and this and that, and we weren't given coloring books to go
That's right.
all the stuff. What a modern soldier today is, in my own opinion, and I hate to say this, but I think they're soft. They're great military because they've got great equipment, but they're not mentally prepared to see what they're going to see in a war situation.
Well,
and this is why the statistics for PTSD are higher with younger people than they are with the older people.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it's a lot of pressure. Hey, Don, talk about suicide. So this is something I read, and this came off the VA's website about a year or so ago, talking about suicide. And, it aggravates me because, and I'm not against the younger people, far from it, but it's what they omit to tell people about the 22 a day number they use is that majority of those 22 a day are not 18, 22, 24-year-old vets, but they're veterans in our age group. The highest amount of suicides is, people 18, 60 years old.
Yeah. And the ones that are the young ones, which, like you say, is the lower percentage of 22.
Okay.
The younger ones. Those are kids that haven't just been prepared to deal with a lot of this stuff. And I think the military has to do something to straighten things out.
I agree. No, I agree. But and it's just, what gets to me is they don't take the time. You always see them addressing the younger people about PTSD, but our generation, our age groups, you, me, and Levi, and our general age group at 50 to 70, they don't address it.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And
they don't address it.
Yeah, and I remember a lot of times when I got back from Vietnam, it didn't bother me then because I was busy with my career, I was busy with my families and my family. And then after I retired, I said, wow, this is really, really starting to annoy me. And so I started doing more research on it. And finally I got involved with the VA, and I came up with ways of helping myself. And I had to just sit there. I mean, I don't know how many times that I went and just want to do away with myself, And I didn't have to worry about that. Once I learned my self-help tips and my grounding techniques, and I put all this in the book.
Okay.
All this is in the book.
Yeah. Oh, I totally understand. And it's just some of the things of PTSD and the suicide thing. I just want to bring up because it drives me batty. You see it always in the freaking news and people talking. The young soldiers, like, whoa, take a step back, people. You better do your research and find out. It's not that, granted some do, but, you'll hear about a 24-year-old kid committing suicide at PTSD, but you don't hear about the 58-year-old man or the 65-year-old Vietnam vet.
Yeah, yeah.
They're all just important, whether they're freaking 22 or, 70. Or like Keith Levi, who's 99 now. Sorry, I had to throw loose somewhere in there.
Here's another thing, too. I talk to a lot of veterans, and everybody's down on our VA all the time. Well, let me tell you one thing.
Okay.
I I'd love to explain, and I have in the book, I explain what other countries do for their veterans. You read that, and you'll never complain about our VA again. No matter how slow they are or how screwed up sometimes things get, it's nothing compared to what they do in other countries, like in Argentina, the Falklands War. The only ones they take care of are the actual combat soldiers. In the U.S., we don't do that. Anybody who's a veteran, we take care of.
Oh, yes.
In Russia,
Yeah.
the only ones they take care of are veterans from Bosnia, Serbia, and Afghanistan. Everybody else is just SOL.
Whoa.
And, our Veterans Administration, yes, we have problems with it. Yes, they'll probably all be straightened out eventually. But I tell you what, it's the best on the planet. And I did the research. I contacted Australia, Argentina, Japan, Russia, and I think that was it. Australia. I just said Australia. But I did those.
Me personally, when it comes to the medical side, I've had good luck with them. I haven't had any issues. Now, when I talk to the claims side, that's a whole different ballgame with claims.
Oh, yeah.
I could blow up Chicago and be happy.
As far as the medical health and the mental clinics and stuff that the RVA has, at least they're taking care of everybody. Doesn't matter whether you're American Legion or where you were in combat or not. If you were a veteran, you get taken care of with your prescriptions and this. And I'm like I say, as far as these claims, the CMP, the adjudication of your claim and stuff, that's a whole separate, subject together. But as far as the medical and the mental health, I'll tell you what, I was surprised when I heard about all these other countries, what they do. And they do nothing.
Yeah.
Unless for
the VA,
combat soldiers.
Well, the VA's been good with me the last 5 or 6 years. I can't complain.
Yeah, they've been great with me too. I've never really had a work thing down in Florida. We have quite a few big facilities in Florida, hospitals and local clinics. So I can understand in some states they may have problems, or you may have management problems. But I think that once the VA gets on the right track right now, I think you're going to see a lot of the problems disappear. I like the idea of being able to...
Well, in playing the devil's advocate, I've heard problems in my area where I live near St. Louis over the last few years. I've heard, and I had one bad dealing with civilian hospitals. They're not perfect either. I think, I swear to God, sometimes the civilians like to attack the VA and forget they're far from perfect.
Right.
The military and the VA are better at taking care of their own than the damn civilians are.
Right. And I like if you were on the program, I don't know if you're on it or not, the VA has a problem. It's called My Healthy Vet.
Yes.
You get up on there and actually mess back towards your primary care physician.
Yeah, I'm on that, Don. I'm on that My Health Vet.
You're on
What's that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, on the myhealthvet.com. I'm on that.
My Health. Yeah.
Yeah, My Healthy Vet. Yeah. That to me is a great service because you can talk to you, and I've never had it where I could instant message my doctor in the morning and have an answer in the afternoon. Like if it was on a new medication, it was making me lightheaded.
Right.
I mean, I think it's great the way they got this.
Yeah, well, I've had pretty good luck at my clinic. I could call them too and tell them, make a complaint or issue, and both ways I've had good luck. Like I said, the medical and dental, I can't complain. In fact, I just went through surgery a week and a half ago on my left arm, fourth surgery in my four arms in the last 4 years. And I had outside surgery, and this was through the VA Choice Program. My doctor sent me outside for orthopedics because he knew it would be a nightmare to get me through. So he was the one that picked me to go outside. And in fact, I've had the same outside orthopedic surgeon. And so they've been good at getting me in and getting me through outside surgery. In the last 5 years, I've had 8 surgeries, and 3 of them have been outside doctors in general. And they sent me outside for podiatrists. And so I've had pretty good luck getting through doing all that, so, and then I'll defend the VA medical and dental. I hear some people talk, and I'm thinking, I've had to use a lot the last 5 years, because once I went on disability, I lost my outside insurance, or my work insurance anyway, so I had to depend on the VA. And so when it comes to medical and that, they've been good. Now, the claim system, that's a whole nother ball game, man. And of course, my regional office is out of Chicago, and anybody who's familiar with Illinois knows nothing good comes out of Chicago.
Hey, Thomas, that's the same way with me. My medical service is great, but my claims, I've been waiting since 1996.
Right.
Oh, I believe it. Well, mine's in not now. In fact, I'm waiting on a letter from my outside orthopedic surgeon to open up another part, plus put in a new claim for my service officer. And so, Barry's a good service officer. But yeah, so.
Well, I went through Congress with mine, so everything started speeding up now. They about through with everything, so we just waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gotta sit back down. I've had a back step once we applied to NOD, because it takes forever. Don, you probably know this too. It takes forever for a NOD to go through. Notice of this.
Oh yeah.
And Don, they was denying Agent Orange was about 2000. And we didn't know, like Tom was saying, we didn't know we had Agent Orange. We never really heard of that.
Well, see, in Korea, they kind of kept it hush-hush longer than they have anywhere else.
Yeah, a long time.
They're looking to open up the dates some more, but it's still a mess with Korea, with the TMZ about Agent Orange. There's a lot more going on than governing the VA to let loose. So,
well, it was really,
because we all know why.
What was really odd with Agent Orange and Vietnam, it was not only because a lot of people didn't realize it was called Agent Orange because the 55-gallon drones were OD green.
Right.
With a big orange stripe on.
You got blue and green.
But there was Agent purple, white, Agent green. It was the most toxic to anybody. And the thing was, at the time, we didn't know it. Now, here's a perfect example. We used to take the Agent Orange barrels, the empty barrels, and cut them in half at the motor pool and make barbecue grills out of them.
Wow.
The stuff was still laying in there.
Right.
And a lot of times, like when we were flying escort, we got one Huey actually boom spraying Agent Orange, and we would be escorting them as cover protection for them. And I mean, it'd be so bad. I mean, naturally you fly doors open, so you're soaking wet. You fly through the soaking wet. The windshield wipers, a little vacuum operated windshield wipers on the Huey. I mean, we were just getting soaked with this stuff. Now, that's fine.
Well, and then they mixed it. They were mixing it with diesel fuel, so it's thick, oil-based.
Yeah. And what would happen is, at night, we would take off our flight suits and hang it up to dry, right?
Okay.
Well, the next day, if we had insertions or extractions of troops, and we weren't on an escort detail, you put the flight suit back on, and during the day, naturally, you know the way it was over there. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Hot, you start sweating again.
Very hot.
And all of a sudden, so every day you were being exposed to this stuff. Now, just recently, I had been diagnosed with men's too, endocrinologist, which I have an adrenal tumor, a parathyroid tumor, and a pituitary tumor, all caused by Agent Orange. Right now, it's being treated medically. If they have to do my pituitary tumor, they already did. I already went into surgery on my thyroid, my parathyroid, and that kind of straightened my balance out a little bit. But if I got to do my adrenal tumor, they go in through your belly button, and if they do the pituitary tumor, they go up through your nose, because it's at the base of your brain.
Oh.
So, I mean, that's something I get tested for that every year. I have an MRI to make sure these tumors aren't growing, getting any bigger. They are benign, thank God. And it's just one of these big pains in the butt that we're facing with now, And that alone.
Yeah.
I mean, not knowing if you're going to be alive.
Well, and you know what's so scary? You know, I always hear, and I know this from experience, but I always hear, you know, you hear, okay, the World War II vets, which were about to extinct, sadly, but it's because due to age. But World War II vets and Korean veterans are passing away at a high number. And I just, every time I hear that, and I look at people, I said, what they omit to tell you is Vietnam veterans are passing away at a high number too.
Oh, yes.
Right.
You know, and so many of my Vietnam veteran buddies over the last 20 years are gone. They passed on. And I just lost a close one last year. And, you know, losing Brad and I were close, and Brad was sudden, but a lot of his ailments was dealing with Agent Orange.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, but, you know, a lot of these guys, Vietnam vets, as we all know, were, you know, I've seen them pass away. Some cases, it's what, back to dealing with PTSD, is what I call slow suicide, Don. It's drinking themselves to death for all these years. Mm-hmm. I've seen guys drink themselves to death in their 40s. You know, that was back in the 90s when I was a contractor. A lot of the Vietnam vets I worked with.
Right.
I'm, you know, died from health issues because they drank heavily.
Right.
You know, and so
hard.
And
it is.
And Don,
And,
but what you do with your radio network is because you get the word out to people you can possibly help.
yeah. But
right.
you know as well as I do, Don, a lot of these guys have gone so long without help, they don't feel they need it now. But what they don't realize is how much they're harming themselves.
Yeah, it's
You still there, Don?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Oh.
I'm right here.
And
Just cut out a couple of times. I didn't know if you heard me or not.
and Don, you know that didn't help us. And even Thomas and I talk about it a lot of time too. Like when I ETS out, you know, we get out from the zone and stuff. The next day, you know, you back in civilian life.
Right.
And I had a lot of trouble. Like when I first got back home, I had a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Well, I think everybody does. I know in my case it was a little different. I got out in 91. I went back overseas working as a contractor in Korea for 9 years. So, granted, I was a civilian contractor, but I worked with the military, so I didn't get the raw dealing with civilians till 2000.
Oh, okay.
And when I came back finally to the civilian world and started working in the actual civilian world, I had a rough time dealing with it because I could deal with the military. I dealt with it for 19 years, you know. But when I got back in the civilian world, oh my God, I jumped jobs till I went on disability. In 11 and a half years, I jumped 4 to 5 different jobs, and I get pissed off on one, but my background, I have an electronics background anyway, working as a contractor. So I could always find another job to go to. I get pissed off one place, it's a script. You know, put in my 2-week notice, go work for another. And of course I got a hold as a roving technician, but I paid the bills. And but no, it just, you know, and that's one thing you said earlier, Don. I think whether you're a combat vet or not, for many, is after you spend 3, 4, 5, how many ever years in the military, once you get out in the civilian world, it's they don't prepare you for it.
No.
There's no preparation, no warning. You know, when you take a kid, take someone who's been in the army for a few years, and you know, in the military we got each other's back. In the civilian world, we're out to cut each other's throat.
That's right.
And that's a big difference, and that's hard for a lot of people to deal with. I know when I come back from Vietnam, I returned. We refueled in Yokota Air Base in Japan and flew into Anchorage because they sent us to Fort Lewis, Washington for coming back from Vietnam.
Yeah, that's why ETS
The
out.
first thing they did, we had milk and steak dinner, and then they had about 4 hours of becoming a civilian again. And they told us, now of course we didn't have the media that you have today, we had no idea of the demonstrations that were going on in the States and none of that. And so they told us, don't wear your Class A uniform when you go to the airport, and don't let people know you're in the military because there's this and there's that, and don't go on and on and on. And here you go, you're walking through the airport. I went down to Seattle. I've been in the Seattle airport. Here I am. I've been in the tropics for 2 years, so I'm darker than dark with a tan, white-walled haircut, dragging a duffel bag saying U.S. Army on it. I mean, you don't have that uniform on people who are military. And I heard a lot of stories about people, they came out, they spit on their soldiers and stuff. I never really had that. The only incident I ever had with that was when I got to one of the airports. Nobody would sit next to me, which was okay because I like the extra room anyway, you know?
Right.
But, I mean, the people who were marching and demonstrating against us back in those days are the same ones who are saying, hey, support our troops this time because it's their kids, you know? Which is fine. I mean, we support each other anyway. Like you're saying, you know, it doesn't matter what service you're in. I mean, even at the VFW post, I mean, we have a lot of PTSD problems in the post that I help out with, but it's still a camaraderie.
Right.
You know, like somebody can say, I'll say, well, you were in, what were you in? You say, well, I was in the Air Force. And then I say, well, oh, those are the ones with planes, right? You guys have planes. You know, just breaking each other's chops a little bit, you know? It's just healthy camaraderie. And with the PTSD, I find it healthy, you know?
Well, the difference is, you know, with veterans, we don't have, amongst ourselves, as soon as you you meet somebody, as soon as you tell them you're a veteran, there's nothing to explain. Where you're dealing with a civilian that's never served, it's a whole different ballgame. They don't grasp or understand. And most will never will unless they serve.
Right, they don't.
And it's a tough world sometimes. And the problem I have, I don't think, you know, most civilians don't try to grasp. They expect you to form around their way, and it's like it doesn't happen that easily. You know, I'm not going to form your way. I wasn't trained that way, you know, and so on. And so, you know, I tell you what, I always said, you know, we always said in the military army, we do some backwards things. Well, I got out to the civilian world in 2000, 2001, Don. Oh, God, they were more backward than the Army could ever been. It was like, I'm sitting there, y'all that stupid? I said, geez, I mean, we got some idiots in the Army, but the civilian world's worse and working.
But can you imagine now that what it's going to be like in the future? Because the kids in college today, or even in the military in some instances, are going to be our future leaders, you know, and they're not going to be prepared for a lot of things we had to be prepared for. You know, and things are going to get really screwed up, I think, in the future. You know, unless the military and the colleges start saying, hey, look, this is the way things, this is real life, man. You know, if colleges and even at home, the parents training at home, they got to train people, these kids, to go out in the real world, because the real world is going to chew them up.
Oh, yes.
You know?
I you know, well, it's funny. I hear my youngest son died. He's very conservative to start with for a 22-year-old young man. And, of course, my kids are very worldly. I mean, shit, he spent his first 6 years growing up in Korea in life. And so, you know, my other son spent a total of 12 and a half years overseas, 10 and a half with me, 2 on his own in Afghanistan on 2 tours. And so, you know, my kids have seen the world, and I laugh sometimes at that. And I say that for spending 15 years living in a rural area, and I see these people in the rural area think they know everything about life because they go to St. Louis, you know, once every 6 months. They think they know everything because they've seen the big city. And it's like, you haven't seen that.
Right.
I know. But what's that? Even the military, to some degree, is at fault with a lot of this stuff too. You know, I mean, I went to my son went to graduated basic training training in the Army from Fort Dix, New Jersey. So when he graduated from boot camp, my wife and I went to Fort Dix to see the graduation, blah, 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 blah. Well, afterwards, we go into the mess hall, which they call a dining facility. There's no such thing as a mess hall no more. And
yeah, defense.
What I call her, they had all kinds of stuff, and they said to my son, they said, you know, Dave, they said, what, do they have all this food just for the visitors today, for all the friends today, for graduation? He like this all the time.
Wow.
You know? And then I went to his dorm. They don't call them a barracks no more. It's dorms, dormitories. And he had a dividing wall between him and the next guy. No more double-decker cots like we had.
You got to be kidding, Don.
And this was back in 1991 when he graduated book season. You know?
Wow.
Yeah. And because I'm 100% PTSD, I got the base card. And I got Patrick Air Force Base, only about 8-10 miles from my house here. So I go over to the base a lot, use the commissary for shopping and whatever. And I see them young kids over there. I'm saying, my God, these guys are in for a rude awakening, man. They have to go really into real combat, you know?
Well, you know, it's funny, when my son went to Afghanistan his first time, you know, he's emailing me, and he's a living problem, mind you. He's out doing missions, but when he's back at the, you know, FOB, the forward operating base, as they call it, I get, once in a while, he get a cheap cell phone from, you know, one of the little local Afghanis, you know, get a cheap cell phone, or I get emails. And it's like, I told him, I said, you know, you had it easier there than I ever did in Korea. And I said, we didn't have cell phones or PCs or email or none of that shit. You gotta, you know, you have to have a lot of money. Your family has a lot of money to accept that collect calls from overseas.
That's correct.
Or, you know, we would get in Korea at the time, we would get MWR calls, which was like a 5-minute call.
Yeah.
So a control number was given. And it was a limited number of those, but if you got one of those, you could talk to your family for 5 minutes, which was a very precious 5 minutes. Yeah, especially when I kept extending, you know. My mom's like, boy, what's wrong with you? But, so, how are we doing on time, Levi?
We doing pretty good. We got probably about 10 minutes. And then we can start closing it up in 10 minutes. Yes, well, Thomas, you got a great son though, because he's 11 Bravo, right? That's a great man.
Yeah, my phone is starting to die anyway.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, we got a few minutes. Let's get back to the book.
Okay.
And where now? I assume the book's available in most bookstores, correct, Don?
Yeah, but it's more expensive that way. If you buy it right through our website, that a connection to anewlife.com, then it's a lot cheaper.
Oh, okay.
It's our website, connections to anewlife.com.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay.
Hey, Don, before I forget, do me a favor. You get a chance, message me that link on Facebook later. Just send me a PM. That way I can post it up on our Facebook page. And Levi, I'll send it to him also. That way he can post it. If he thinks about it, he can get it posted up on the website also. But, you know, I posted up on our Facebook page. Plus, I can help you get the word out. I know you already get some of the other groups we're in together.
Right.
I think it's a great thing. Like I said, you know, like we said earlier, is now you went to school. What'd you study in school, if you don't mind me asking?
Just a basic psychology and life course, or life coaching, and different things that would do to enhance a PTSD program.
Okay.
And plus, with my knowledge to the veterans.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring. I just wanted you to let people know. But no, I think it's a great thing. I need to get the book and just read through it, but good for myself. I deal with quite a bit, not in my own family, but you know, again, being active, I get veterans I deal with, especially my own post that have issues. I get calls once in a while even for a couple of somebody want to say their spouses get concerned, and I've had a couple of calls from the local police department over there saying, "Hey Tom, have you seen so and so?" It's like, "No, but don't worry." I said, "I know how they're going to act. Just give them an hour, and they'll call. They'll be back home." You know,
Right.
and,
That's a good one. Yeah.
and that happens. Hell, I've done that myself. You know, my poor wife, she's caught hell raising boys and dealing with me. So,
Yeah.
well, my wife, she didn't grow up easy either. So,
Right.
and,
My phone's starting dying. So what I'll do is I'll send you all the links and stuff
Okay.
for that.
okay.
If you need me,
Well, I'm glad to help you.
just let me
And
know.
I just want to say we appreciate you having on the show, Don, and sometime down the road we'll have to have you again. Especially when if you're
Right.
writing a second book.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
when we get the book out, we'll have to get you on to help promote the book.
Keep in touch. And thanks for having me on the show tonight. And
Okay.
I'll give you progress reports anyway, Tom.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, Don. What?
Levi, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Don, for coming on.
Okay, brother. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Yes, Thomas. That was great there. So
Well, I think it's neat. You got a veteran who's writing a book on PTSD. Somebody said writing from their own experiences.
right.
You know, and I'm not trying to knock school, but, you know, time and time again, you know, psychologists and psychiatrists, oh, yeah, they learn all this great stuff in school, but they don't have the personal experience that rides with it.
That's right.
Like in this case, but not.
And that make a big difference too, Thomas. You know, 'cause I'd rather have somebody that's been through an experience, you know, that been there. You know.
Well, I found it's easier, you know, and not just myself, but dealing with other veterans that have PTSD. It's easier for a veteran with PTSD to talk things over with another veteran than it is a non-veteran, a civilian.
Right. You know. You're totally right too.
What's that?
I said you totally right too.
Well, and it's just been my experience alone, and because again, as veterans, when one talks to another, irrelevant when you serve or what your ZAC MOS is or whatever. Most of the time, if you serve, veterans don't have to explain to other veterans what it's like.
Right.
The camaraderie is there. We may joke that this guy was Navy or Air Force, Marines, whatever. And we joke, but we don't have to explain ourselves. As soon as you say you're a veteran, that's enough to me. I understand.
There you go.
And I understand, or I can relate to the experiences that, whether you served in Vietnam or Afghanistan or Iraq or Korea or whatever the case scenario may be. And it's just, that's why we have the veterans organizations like we do now with AFS or the VFW, American Legion, and so on. It's, like-minded people, plus the organizations that are there to help support all veterans causes, whether you're a member of the organization or not.
Right.
But it's just sticking together as veterans is important, people don't, like I said, I found, and, it's, too many times they expect the veterans, it's always got to be the veterans have to bend to the civilian ways. And it's
right.
Like,
that's the way they look at it.
It's like, no, it's, sometimes they need to learn how to accept veterans and how their mentality is, how they're trained, and how we are. So, and it's kind of keep an open mind. But no, it was great having Don on. I just hope especially all veterans, if you need help, pick up Don's book. I mean, I know it's not easy getting help. Most of us know that from experience.
Right.
But if you need help, buy Don's book. It's called Back from the Front. Don Pearsall is the author. And I can't, I haven't read the book yet. I need to get it. But, Don's there to help out other veterans. That's the key. That's the goal here. So.
Yeah, that was a great topic. That was a great topic tonight too. And I've been waiting on this interview for a long time too, Thomas.
What's that?
I've been waiting on this interview for a long time too, because that was a good topic.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad Don was willing to come on, and I'm glad we had him. And let's hope. I just pray. Let's pray and keep our fingers crossed. This helps other veterans out.
Right.
So, and that's what we're here for, is to help each other out as
right.
much as possible. Plus, to educate those non-veterans out there what it's like. And I hope we get. I don't know if we do or not, but I hope we get a lot of non-veterans to listen so they understand.
Yes.
Dealing with the veteran mindset, it's a different thing.
It's definitely different, and
it is.
I hope we get a lot of comments especially on this topic here. Once they people that didn't listen to the show, listen to the podcast. But it's very interesting though. That's very interesting.
It is, and it's a major subject that needs to be addressed more and more.
Right.
And I'm glad we were able to get somebody on it to address. I mean, we talked about it, but I'm just glad to get Don on there. But veterans things always need to be addressed, by us.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, Thomas, it's about time to close the show out.
Okay.
And everything, but I hope everyone enjoyed that. You got anything in closing you'd like to say, Thomas?
No, I just listen in every week. Our guest next week. Hold on. I gotta find my guest list.
Okay. Put your glasses on. Okay. All right, Thomas.
I always gotta have them on if I want to see more than 6 inches. Next week, we have Army veteran Pete Williamson will be on.
Okay.
Good time in active duty and reserves, National Guard.
Right.
Pete served, from like 80. Pete's my age, by the way. But he served from like the mid-'80s up till not too long ago. He finally retired from the reserves.
Okay.
He got like 30 years then.
Wow.
So Pete expanded. He started off by going to Germany during the Cold War in the 80s. So and he's done tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. So and Desert Storm, I believe. So Pete will give us a lot of insight what it's been like to serve the last 30 years. So. And then the week after that, we got Jeremy Stanton will be on. He's an Air Force vet, also the owner of a local business where I live called Barrel Beard Tattoo.
Right, he'd be the first Afro personnel we had on, right?
Yeah, I have to remind Jeremy, but yeah.
Okay.
And in fact, I was trying to get him on last week at the last minute when Troy had to back out, but he couldn't do it. He had other engagements. So, but no way of Jeremy. And and I got to start working on May's list already. It's hard to believe we're already in the middle of April. So yeah, the podcast, for everybody to know too, so we replayed Bob's show last week, so his podcast is already out there. We apologize, but between our guest and Troy does want to come on the show eventually. He just couldn't do it this last week,
right.
By the way, Levi.
Okay.
So, and that's fine. I understand. I mean, we others,
Yes.
So between Troy and I be able to make it, I wasn't feeling good. We just held off. So, but that's it. I got nothing else till next week.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everyone, for listening in. And, Thomas and I, we thank you for your service also. And until next week, we'll see you again next week. Good night.